All right, thank you, Sandy, for joining us, and please lead us through the tips and tricks for Excel.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. I hope everybody will learn something today. Some things you might know already, but hopefully you don't know everything. So we'll just get started, and Mary, of course, feel free to butt in if you see comments or questions or whatever, because I'm not looking at that at all. So.
Okay, happily.
Okay, so one of the first things I want to mention that I don't know if any of you know about, if I switch to a different, can you all see that I'm now on sheet 7 and there's some data here?
Yep.
Okay, great. One thing I just wanted to make sure you all know, in case you don't, is that the quickest way to highlight the entire spreadsheet is to click on the corner here between at the intersection of the row numbers and the column headers. So if you click right here, you can see that the entire spreadsheet, not just the part that has data, but the entire spreadsheet is selected. And you can use that to do things like change the font. So let's change it from Calibri to Arial. And we can also change the size from 11 to 12. So if you want to do things that permeate through the whole spreadsheet, that's the quickest way to do it, to just highlight the whole thing and make your changes. And I'm going to change it back now. A lot of things I do, I'm going to change back to how they were originally. And the way I do that, I'm sure you're all familiar with this famous undo key at the top. But if you can see in the small print there, it says undo font Control+Z in parentheses. And Control+Z is a shortcut for undo, so that if you don't want to have to grab your mouse and scroll all the way up here, you can just be anywhere and type Control-Z, which I'm going to do right now. And that will undo. This is actually a shortcut that I've never used before, and I started using it when I prepared for this class. I love Control-Z. And I should just take a little sidebar here and tell you that those of you who don't know me, I'm sort of an anti-mouse person. I like to use the keyboard as much as possible. So I'll be giving you a lot of keyboard shortcuts during this course. And I hope you'll use them because they really save a lot of time. Okay, so another thing I want to show you is, I don't know if any of you have noticed this or not, but how many times have you wanted to make a list, like you want to list numbers going down, and you feel like you think that you have to enter them all manually? Whoops, missed it here. Well, the fact is you don't need to enter them manually because Excel is really, really smart. And if you just start with even 2 items that have some kind of an obvious sequence, then you can drag it down and Excel will fill in all those things automatically. This works for numbers. It also works for months, I believe, if we put in January, February. Let's see. So I'm highlighting both of them, and then I'm going to the corner and pulling down, and there are the months. I think it also works with days of the week. Saturday, Sunday. And we can do it here. Yep. I'm not sure if there are any other things that it works with automatically, but you get the idea. And of course, you don't have to go down. You can also go across. So if we have January, February here, we can highlight both of them going across and drag it this way, and it'll do the same thing. Okay. Now I want to show you, we're going to go to another spreadsheet, and there is a way to delete, well, to clear all the formatting. So for example, if I mark this whole spreadsheet, up here, we have this clear button, and there I don't know if you can see, there's a tiny little down arrow there. So if I click on it, there are different options here. We can clear everything, which will make everything disappear, or we can just clear the formats, or we can just clear the contents. The safest one to do is, of course, to clear the formats. I want to show you what happens when we do that. So basically the nice border we had at the top disappeared, and oh my goodness, the dates turned into numbers. So anyway, I just wanted to point out this clear button because it's something that I've never used much, and I think it can be really useful in addition to being very dangerous. So now once again, I'm going to undo what I just did by pressing Control Z. And by the way, I don't know how many of you might have Macs instead of PCs. I'm working with a PC, and I'm pretty sure that whenever I say Control with the PC, I think on the Mac, if you press Command with the same letter or number, it'll work.
And Sandy, in the chat, somebody was asking about Control Y to redo, and that's, so you can use Control Z to get rid of it, and if you want to put it back, Control Y, correct?
Yes, I never use that, but I guess for some people it's good. The reason I didn't mention it is because I never use it, but yes, that's absolutely true. Okay. Now I want to just show you a few things about navigation. And right now I'm in the top left. And when you have a big list in particular, it helps to know how to navigate. And again, using the Control key is very helpful. So for example, right now, if I press Control down arrow, it's going to take me to the very bottom of the list. So you can see I'm now at row 214, and I got there really quickly. And then again, I can do Control up arrow, and it'll take me back to the top. You can also do Control right arrow to go over to the right to the last entry, and you can do Control left arrow to go over to the left. Now, if you, I don't know if anybody noticed, but when I did the Control right, it stopped at the 448. Let's see if let me just put something in here for kicks. If I go over here and press Control right arrow, it stops at the 448. What it does is it stops automatically at the last entry that doesn't have any gaps. So when you put gaps in your spreadsheet, it's going to affect the way these control arrow things work. Now, if I press Control right arrow again, it goes to the 125. And then if I press it again, it goes all the way to the end of the spreadsheet. So now again, I can press it 3 times to get back, or I could press Control Home. Control Home always takes you to cell A1. So let me just check off these things as I do them so I'll know where I am. Another control thing, another control navigation command has to do with if you have multiple worksheets open. So you can see I have a lot of worksheets here, and it's pretty easy to, use your mouse to just click. But you can also use the Control key with page down. I'm doing Control page down now to move down, and Control page up will move you up. Okay. Now, this next thing is probably something a lot of you know already, but some of you might not. I suspect that most of you know how to insert a row. There are a number of ways to do it. You can click on the row like I just did, and then right-click and insert. Excuse me. But you can also insert multiple rows at the same time. So if I wanted to insert, say, 4 rows right here, all I have to do is highlight all 4 rows, and I'm doing that just by using my mouse and dragging, and then right-click and insert. And there, so you can insert multiple rows at a time. You don't have to do it just 1 row at a time. And again, I'm going to Control Z to put things back the way they were. There's also a keyboard shortcut for inserting rows or columns, and that keyboard shortcut is Control with the plus sign on the keyboard. I don't know if everybody has a separate keyboard on their keypad. You press Control and the plus sign that's on the keypad, and that will insert a row. And if you do it this way, highlighting a column, again, Control with the plus sign on the keypad inserts an empty column. What about deleting? There's also a keyboard shortcut for deleting columns and rows. So if I press Control with the minus sign that's on the keypad, that deletes a row. And again, with the column, Control with the minus sign deletes the column. And again, I'm going to use Control Z to get everything back to the way it was. Okay. There's just a couple more keyboard shortcuts I'd like to show you, and we are going to get into some good meaty stuff. So just bear with me. This is something I just learned and I never knew it. If you want to copy the contents of what's immediately above, so let's say that I wanted the word medium on this row 11 in column B. The normal way I do it is I go up to column B and I do Control C to copy and then Control V to paste. But you don't have to do it that way. What you can do is, wow, what happened there? What you can do is just position your cursor where you want, just below the thing you want to copy, and do Control D. And it copies what was immediately above. You can do the same thing for copying something to the right. I'm just going to insert a column here. So if I want to copy Greg's name here, I can do Control R and it will enter Greg's name. Go
Sandy,
ahead.
there's a question in the chat about typing and having it autofill as opposed to, but that's different from what you're showing us right now. You're showing us how to copy something, but if you put in an M right now, it would probably autofill medium.
Yes, it did. Yeah. Yeah, it was a bad example to show you. And you're right, often the autofill does do the trick. Sometimes it doesn't though, if you have two things that are very similar
Right.
in your column. But yeah. But speaking of autofill, I actually have an autofill thing that I want to show you that's a little bit different from what you're talking about.
Okay.
And I'm going to jump to a different place in my list of things to show you in order to show you that, since the word autofill came up. One of the things that, oh, I'm going to clear this all because we don't need this anymore. So I'm going to go clear all. One of the things that happens to me a lot, and I don't know if it ever happens to you, but oftentimes there are things that have long names, and I don't want to have to type the whole long name. So let me just give you an example. I've done a lot of work with the Library Capital Campaign, and one of the names that comes up a lot is New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. And to type New Hampshire Charitable Foundation takes a while. And it would be so much easier if I could just type NHCF, but Excel would type New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. And there's actually a way to do that. And I just think it's so neat. I'm going to show you. What you do is you click on the File menu and you choose Options. And then, I don't know, I guess I'll move it. Can everybody see this now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's actually called Autocorrect, not Autofill. Sorry. So you go to the proofing area, and here there's an option for Autocorrect. So you can click on that, and you can tell Excel what you're going to type and what you want it to correct it as. So for example, I'm going to put replace New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. I'm going to replace NHCF with New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. And then I'm going to click Add. So there it is. You can see it on the list. And click OK. And I'm going to close this. So now I'm going to type NHCF, and I'm going to press Enter. And look what happens.
That
It
is
spells out the whole word.
beyond cool.
I thought it was, thank you, Mary. I thought it was pretty cool too. Raise your hand if you think that's cool. Oh, everybody's got their videos off. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a way to raise your hand figuratively in Zoom?
Yes, there is. Under, if you go to the lower toolbar, you can hit reactions. And you can have raise hand. Normally they use that for a question, but you could do a thumbs up or a clap, or
cool.
There are various emojis.
Cool. Okay. So let's get back to my, oh, there was one other control. Well, there's more than one control thing that I want to show you, but
wait a minute, before we go on,
yeah.
There's a request in the chat to repeat the sequence again.
Repeat the sequence of what I just did with this autocorrect thing?
I believe so. And if that's not correct, then Eileen, just unmute yourself and let us know.
Okay.
Go for it.
So I click on File over here, and then I click on Options. And this other window shows up. And within that window, I choose the listing on the left-hand side that says Proofing. And then I click on this button that says Autocorrect Options. Now, suppose you want to type my name over and over again. Let's do another one. Let's do SB for Sandy Bibace. And that's going to come out to Sandy Bibace. And then you have to click Add to add it to the list of things that they know that they should correct. I hate to use the word correct. I'm saying that in quotations, but anyway, okay. So I click OK. And then I can go over here. Oh, I have to close it. Sorry. Okay. So now I'm going to type SB and it types my name.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, I think, you know, there are probably, everybody has their own uses of this that would be helpful. So just think about it and you'll be able to come up with all sorts of time savers. Okay, so now the other thing I wanted to show you, not the other thing, one other thing, is using the control key and the shift key together to mark a range. So right now I'm in cell A1. I'm going to press the control and shift key at the same time and then the down arrow. And then I'm still holding control and shift and I'm going to press the right arrow. So this is a nice, easy way of marking a range just by using your keyboard instead of using the mouse. I don't know, you know, I have this thing about using the mouse because I never, I don't know, I feel like I don't have much control over it. And it's funny, I'm so used to not using it that I can't even tell you how to use the mouse to mark. Oh, here we go. So, you know, it just takes a while to get it exactly how you want. But using those keyboard shortcuts, the control and shift and down and right arrow, it's much quicker to do. Okay. Another control shortcut, which doesn't have to do with navigation, is just formatting. If you press Control plus the number 1, why didn't it happen? Control plus 1. Well, that's not working. It's supposed to bring up the format menu. That's weird. Maybe it's because maybe it's because you have to have something highlighted first. Let me try it now. No, it's not working. Well, so much for that.
Oh, well.
Trust me, it's supposed to work. Okay, here's another interesting one, spell check. I think a lot of you are probably accustomed to spell check in Word, but you might be unaware that there is a spell check in Excel. And the way to get to it is to press, well, first maybe you don't even have to mark the range. Let me just put my cursor in a cell that doesn't have anything. I'm going to press the F7 key. Okay, so here's F7. I pressed F7 and it immediately is looking through the whole spreadsheet and it tells me that I have misspelled the word lamb. So I'm going to change that. And then fleas should be fleece. So I'm going to change that. And a now should be snow. So I'm going to change that. And now my spell check is complete. So if any of you ever worry that if you're not like me and realize whenever you have a typo, if you want to check after the fact, you can always press F7 and do the spell check.
That would be very helpful. Okay,
so let's get into some interesting things having to do with text. Okay. Here is a spreadsheet that I did with some examples of text that some of it has spaces that don't belong there. This first entry, I think, is correct in terms of spacing, but the second one has an extra space here. The third one has extra spaces all over the place, and etc. And there's actually a function let's just talk about, I'm going to go to the formulas tab here. Some of you may be familiar with formulas. I tend to call them functions, but it says formulas here. There's a whole bunch of text formulas here, many of which most of us don't know what they're used for. And I learned a few new ones in preparation for this class and thought they were pretty neat. And this again has to do with data entry and, thinking that you might have some extra spaces in various places. So there is a function called trim. If we click on this text box here, it shows us all of the possible ones. And here's the one called trim. So trim, as you can see here, removes all spaces from a text string, except for single spaces between words. So it will correct any extra spaces that you've put in. And all you have to do is tell trim where you want to look. So in this case, I'm going to do it for this cell here and click OK. And in this case, they're not doing anything different. But we can then copy it down. And I'm going to copy it down using my mouse, which I never do. And notice how it fixed all of the spacing. I think that's pretty cool.
That is fabulous.
There are other text things that have to do with capitalization. So here we have a list of names. Some of them have the right capitalization. Well, there's only one that's correct. Some of them, they're all over the map. And what you can do using your text formulas is you can have everything changed to lowercase. You can have everything changed to uppercase. Or this is the most amazing one. You can have everything changed to proper. This is particularly used with names, obviously. So here, I could choose from this text box, but I'm not going to bother. I'm going to show you a different way to do it. The way to enter a formula is to start with the equal sign, and the name of the function is lower, and you don't have to put it in capital letters. Lowercase is fine. And we're telling it that we want to change something to lowercase. So we have to open the parentheses, and now I'm just going to point over to here and then close parentheses. So basically, what I'm saying here is take whatever is in cell A2 and put it in lowercase. And that's what it did. Alternatively, we can do the same thing, but put it in uppercase. In this case, it's not going to make any difference, but we're going to put the equal sign, write the word upper, open parentheses, point to the cell that we want to change if necessary, and then close parentheses. And then this one, proper, equals proper, open parentheses, point to the cell you want to correct, close parentheses, and look at that. So then what we can do is we can copy these all down by doing copy, paste, and you can see that everything is lowercase in column B, everything is uppercase in column C, and everything is totally correct in column D.
So, Sandy, do you need to point to the cell, or can you just type in A2?
You can definitely type it in.
Okay.
It's funny. That's one of the times when I find using the mouse very helpful. I find it easier to use the mouse to point than to enter the address, but you can certainly do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we could do equals, let's see, equals upper open paren A7 close paren, and it'll give us the same thing.
Oh, great.
Okay. One of the things that I find very helpful is to have a shortcut menu. Can you all see this thing way at the top of my screen? There's the symbol for the Excel software, and then there's the save icon, the undo button, the print preview. Can you all see that?
I can. It's small, but
Okay.
it's visible.
All right. Well, this is what's called a shortcut menu. And you know, Excel has so many different commands or things that you can do, and they're all on different ribbons. Like right now, I'm on the home ribbon. There's also an insert ribbon, a page layout ribbon, a formula ribbon. And oftentimes you need to know what ribbon to go to do the particular thing you want to do. But you can also put the things that you use the most on this shortcut menu, which is always going to be right at the top of your screen. And you can see I've got freeze panes up here. I've got open, which is interesting because I actually never use that. Print preview, undo, and save. But it's very easy to add whatever you want to this shortcut menu. And I'm going to show you how. I'm going to go to the page layout ribbon. And one of the things that I find useful is to set up a print area, because I often have very big spreadsheets and I don't want to print the entire spreadsheet. I just want to print part of it. So in order to do that, you have to create a print area. So this is a very helpful thing. And you can see that as I'm hovering over it, it sort of changes color. And I'm going to right click. And when I right click, one of the options is add to quick add to quick access toolbar. And I want you to watch what happens in the that upper place where I've got my shortcuts when I do this. So I click on add, and all of a sudden here's the icon for marking the print area. So that if I just want to print a small part of a big list, let's say right here, I just want to print that small section, I can now just click here to mark that, set the print area, and then when I do my print preview, it's only showing me that area that I selected. So you can add any of these options that you see on any of these ribbons can be added to this shortcut menu up here. I guess they give it a different name, actually. What do they call it? Let's see if I do this. Quick access toolbar. They call it the quick access toolbar. You can add whatever you want just by hovering over the command that you use a lot, right-clicking, and then clicking Add to Quick Access Toolbar. Another one I use a lot is data sort. So if I go to data, here's my sort option. I can right-click that, add it to the Quick Access Toolbar, and there it is. So now if I'm here on the home screen and I want to sort something, I no longer have to first go to the data ribbon and then choose sort. I can just from here go directly here and my sorting window opens up. So I would encourage you to think about which things you use a lot that you have to sort of go searching for. and move those things to your quick access toolbar. I find it a tremendous help, and I suspect you will too. And here's another interesting thing. This is for people who really want keyboard shortcuts. When I press the Alt key, let me just the Alt key all by itself. I hope this works. Yeah. Look up at the top left of the screen, and you see how there's a number sort of on top of each icon. What that's telling me is that using the Alt key with whatever number that is a keyboard shortcut to actually moving my mouse up to that icon. So for example, I think this is the print preview. Yeah, print preview is number 3. So I could use my mouse and go here for my print preview, or I could press Alt and 3, and it takes me to exactly the same place.
Wow.
Okay, let's talk about separating information. Text to columns. Okay. So here we have some addresses that are all in one cell. And you realize after you've been working on this spreadsheet for 3 days and putting all this information into one cell, you realize that you really should have the street in a separate column and the city in a separate column and the state in a separate column, because then you can do all sorts of fun manipulation. And you're probably kicking yourself and saying, oh God, now I have to do it all over again. Well, you don't. What you can do is highlight this area that you want to break up into pieces. And then you go to, I believe it's under data. You go to your data ribbon, and there's something called text to columns. Click on that. And then this window opens up, and it gives you a choice of delimited or fixed width. Delimited means that there's something that is in that cell that tells you when there should be a break between the information. Fixed width is what it says, 7 characters per cell. Generally, you're going to want to use delimited. So we're going to click next. And then you have to tell it what is the separator. And by default, it says tab, but in our case, there's a comma at the end of each section. So we're going to select comma and watch what happens in the preview. It splits everything into those 3 columns. So then we click next. And here's where you can tell it what kind of data it is. In our case, I'm fine just leaving it as general, but if any of these were a date, you might want to format it as a date, but we're just going to leave that for now. And then it asks for the destination. Now, I think A2 is correct. No, I'm sorry, it's not. We want B. We want our destination to be over here because we want it to be in column B, because we don't want to lose this yet. We want to just have both types of information before we delete column A. So our destination, we're going to say, and here again, I'm pointing with my pointer to B2. And I'm going to say finish. Oh, Do you want to replace the contents of the destination cells? I didn't expect this. I must have done something wrong. Let's try that again. Delimited, comma, next. Well, I don't know why it's putting these dollar signs in. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try just typing B2, B2, and finish. Well, same message. Okay. Anyway, there it is. So everything got separated into its proper category. And now that we're comfortable, if we want to, we can delete this column. I'm not going to delete it quite yet, though, because I want to show you something else that you can do. It's possible. Well, actually, I'll show you in a different place. I'll do it down here. You might, God, the time is going by so quickly. I'm thinking maybe I should not show you this because I've got other important things to show you. So I'm going to move on. Okay.
Before you move on, there was a question about how to use the Alt and number on a Mac. And that may not be something that you can speak to immediately, but we could get back to later.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I would have to try it on my own Mac. I don't know if it works or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll send that out with the recording. We'll do a little research and send that out.
Okay. Good. Let's see. I feel like I have to pick and choose. You know, I didn't go through this whole thing to see how long it would take, and I was hoping I'd have enough material, and now I'm beginning to see that maybe I have too much. But
you can be here as long as you'd like. We're fine with that. So
okay. Text to column I just did, right? Yes. Okay. Transposing from row to column. Okay. So you might have information in rows that you want to move to a column. So let's just use this as an example. We've got all these names here, and instead of having them in rows, we want them to be going across as columns. So I'm going to highlight them all. I'm going to press Control-C for copy. And then I'm going to go find my paste options. Now, I don't want to use Control-V because that's going to do nothing in this case. But you'll see there's this little down arrow under paste, and there are different ways to paste things. And one of the choices is over here, transpose. So I'm going to, actually, I think I need to move my cursor where I want to put it before I click on paste. So now I'm going back to paste, transpose, and look what happened. It copied everything that was in the rows, but it copied them across in columns. So if you ever find that you're doing a spreadsheet and you've arranged it wrong, you know, you put in the rows what should have been in the columns, this is how you can fix it. And again, it's just a very simple paste option, which is to transpose, but you do need to make sure, oh, look at that. I just did it again without even realizing it. You want to make sure that before you click on the paste transpose, that you've got your cursor where you want it to be. So I'll do that one more time here. And there we go. Now, you may have a really big spreadsheet and you want to print it out. And I see now that I've got this print area. I'm going to clear the print area. Okay, you want to print this really long spreadsheet, but when you look at the preview and scroll down, oh, wow, all the titles are there, and I didn't expect that. Okay, well, that didn't work. I don't know why these totals are here because I don't remember setting that up. Let me try another one. Let's try this one. If I scroll down, oh, that's not a long enough list. I don't have another big list is the problem. Wow. Well, what I wanted, oh, here it is. Here it is. Here's why it's there. What you can do, oh, well, first of all, let me just explain that I'm going to get rid of this because this is the culprit right here. When you go to print preview, it's still there. Wow.
Did you freeze that row?
Even if you freeze the row, it shouldn't matter. I didn't freeze the row, by the way.
Okay.
I must have selected it here, but I don't. Yeah, rows to repeat at top. Okay, let's get rid of that. Okay. All right, let's try this one more time. Okay, so now as I scroll through the pages, the headers are not there. Now, what you might think is that you can go into page setup to set it up so that the headers are there. But if you go to Sheet, to the Sheet tab on this page setup, here's the option here, rows to repeat at top, and it's grayed out. You can't get into it. This is one of the little bugs about QuickBook, about Excel that just I've never understood. But there is a quick well, here's the long workaround. The long workaround is you go to the page layout tab and to the print titles area, and then you can fill it in. But that's a lot of keystrokes. Here's the better way. Highlight your row that you want to repeat and go up to this name cell and type the word print _ titles. And now when you go here to preview, the titles will get printed on every page. This is something I just learned. I never knew you could do it that way.
That's fabulous.
And it's so much easier than having to go here and here and here. And anyway, you can also, if you have more than one row in your header, you can mark 3 rows here. In this case, it's going to look ridiculous, but you can mark 3 rows and put print. I don't know if the P needs to be capitalized. Probably doesn't, but print titles. And then preview. And notice I've got this print preview button in my shortcut thing, and it's not doing the other 2 rows. I must have done something wrong, but trust me, it works. Anyway, I've got the print preview here on my whatever they call this. I call it the shortcut bar, and I find it invaluable because otherwise you've got to go to print layout. I don't even know. No, you have to go to file, print. That's where you have to do. Yeah. So it's so much easier to have it up here. Okay, print titles on every page. Select visible cells only to copy. Okay, and speed. Okay, I've got 2 things I want to show you that I think are really cool. I know I say that about everything. Let's go over here. Suppose you want to change the order of these rows and you want to move this Rick that's down at the bottom up to the top. Now, the way I would normally have done it is I would click on this row, I would insert a space, and then I would click on this row and do Control X, and then I would move it up here and do Control V. That was a lot of work. Here's a better way, and I'm going to just put some stuff in here to show you part of why it's better in addition to just saving time. Supposing I just want to move this up. I don't have to insert a space, and I don't have to Control X and Control V or any of that. All I have to do is press down the Shift key, hold down the Shift key, and then take your cursor and notice how it changed into a plus sign with 4 arrows, and then just drag it to where you want. And notice I'm dragging it to right here, and you can see that sort of gray bar. On your computer, it might be a green bar, but you can see basically that there's a line showing where you are. And I'm going to let go now. And now Daniel has moved up, and I didn't have to do any of that other work. And here's the amazing thing. This section over here, these numbers over here, didn't get moved, because the only thing that got moved was the cells that I was highlighting in my range. I'm going to do that one more time. So I'm going to move Rick up to be right under the other Rick. Okay. I'm pressing down the Shift key, holding it down. The Shift key is still down, and I'm hovering over here until I see the plus sign with the 4 arrows. And then I'm dragging it up to just below where it says Rick, let go, and now Rick's 2 things are together. And let me just do one more. Let's get all those Rick things together. Although this is a stupid use for it, because of course you can use your database sort function. But I just want to, oh, and by the way, we can move more than one at a time. We can move all these 3. Press the Shift bar. Wait till we get the plus sign with the arrows. And now all 3 of them have moved. But we didn't affect the stuff over in this other section at all. That's something I recently learned, and I think it's been life-changing for me.
Yeah, that's pretty helpful.
Okay, now some of you may be familiar with filtering. So while we're here, let's just, there are many ways to establish filtering. One is you can go to Data, Filter, and it will automatically put these down arrows here, and those allow you to filter by various things. I'm going to assume that you know about this filtering, although you may not. Another way to do filtering, I'm going to press Control Z here to undo that. Another way is to go to Insert, Table. And notice it puts a moving line around the whole thing, and I have it checked my table has headers, and I click OK. And this, by inserting a table, you not only get these down arrows at the top, but you also get it nicely organized with alternative coloring, so it's easy to read. There's a third way, which is just press Control T, and it takes you exactly to the same place. That's the keyboard shortcut, Control T, which creates a table. Now, supposing I only want to look at the not started tasks here. So I click the down arrow, I unclick Select All, and I check Not Started. So now it's showing me only the tasks that have not been started. And you'll notice that the row numbers here there are some missing because some of them are hidden. the filter has hidden the entries that don't match what I want to see. But supposing I want to copy a list of just these 4 items and print it. Well, if I highlight this area and say copy, and then go down here and paste, wow, it did exactly what I wanted, even though I didn't think it was going to. That's interesting. I thought it was going to paste everything. And therefore, what I was trying to show you doesn't make any sense. Wow. Don't you love it when things don't work out when you're in a class that's being recorded?
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? You're giving them an opportunity to see how you manage things not going the right way. And that's an important lesson we all need to learn.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't show you. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. Normally, I would have expected that if I copied and pasted all this, it would also copy and paste row 3 and rows 6, 7, and 8. And for some reason, it's not. I'm going to just try it one more time. Wow. Okay, let's forget that lesson.
Okay.
Let's see. Data validation. This will be maybe the last thing I show you. Data validation is interesting. I don't know if any of you are aware that you can limit what can be entered in cells, so that especially if somebody else is going to be using the same spreadsheet, you can make sure that they don't enter something that they shouldn't. So for example, this column E is a date field, and I want to limit what can be entered there to a date. So what we do is we highlight the column, and I think we click on data. Yeah, click on the data ribbon, and then there's this thing called data validation. And then you have to click on data validation again. Okay, so here you have a choice. You can allow any value, but in this case, you can also make it allow only whole numbers, decimals. You can create a list that it can only take things out of that are in your list, but I'm going to choose date. And you can also say that the date has specific time limitations. So I'm going to say that the date has to be greater than, let's see, 01152015. Okay. So now if I try to enter a date here that is in 2014, I get this message telling me that the value I entered is not valid. Now, one thing I forgot to show you when we go into this data validation is that you can actually create your own message. So it can be a warning, it can be stop, a warning, or information. And we'll just say stop, and we'll say, oh, I've got my caps lock on, not a date. And the error message is, you must enter a date in this field, which is after, I can't even remember what date I put. Oh, well, we'll just pretend.
Okay.
12, 15, 14. Okay, So now I'm going to put 12:05:13. And then the message that we wrote appears to the person who's filling it in. Another situation with state, we want this to be the state abbreviation. So we want it to be limited to 2 characters. So here, we're going to change the text length. And the text length has to be equal to 2. Click OK. And let's do an error alert here too. We'll call it state abbreviation. And the error message will be, and let's change this to warning so you can see what that looks like. Please use the 2-digit, I don't know if digit is the right word, but state abbreviation. Okay. So here we start typing mass and we get that message. That's a much nicer sound too. I don't know if you guys could hear the sound, but it's a lot nicer than the stop sound. Oh, in that case, it let us enter it. That's interesting. So the warning actually lets them do it, whereas the stop really doesn't even accept it. That's good to know. Okay. I think we should probably stop now since it's 2 and people might have other things to do, and I know I do.
Yeah,
So
okay. Does anybody have any very quick questions for Sandy, and then we will disband and invite her back for another session in a couple of months, because this has been fascinating. I've learned so much.
Oh, good.
Really cool. So any
a
questions?
lot of what you covered I knew perfectly well from Word and had no idea that you could do it in Excel.
Really?
Yeah. Some, not a lot, but some of the things you showed us, I've been using in Word for, I don't know, 20 years. And I've been trying to use Excel almost as long, and never dawned on me that might work. So thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great. Any questions for Sandy? Otherwise, we'll call it a wrap. And if you try something and it doesn't work, just email me and I will forward it to Sandy. So thank you so much, Sandy, for all your information and cool tricks. I can't wait to try them out.
Good luck.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.